Musclebox Radio, episode number 20 now, I believe. Big 2-0. Wow. Never thought we'd get there, but we are. That's good. So today I am joined by Teambox coach and owner of Girl Gains, Laura Baker.
Hello.
Welcome, Laura, to the show.
Thanks for finally getting me on here.
That's all right. We thought we'd save the best till last.
Oh, you suck up. You're just worried about what I was going to say before now.
Welcome.
Thanks.
So today what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about and going over reverse dieting or recovery diets. They seem to have got a lot of kind of press, a lot of people talking about them over the last sort of coming years, and they're becoming frequently more popular conversations around contest prep, and it's kind of like what lies after. So whether that's, you've done a photo shoot, you've come to the end of obviously your competitive season, or you've just come to the end of the diet, it's essentially what happens next. So you've had this hyper-focused goal, you've got super shredded, super lean, and then what happens after that? So getting Laura on today is going to sort of give a bit of a female perspective. Might quiz you on actually how you coach some of your female clients when it comes to recovery or reverse diets. I can give my perspective on being three or 4 weeks post show now. You can give yours because you are 10.
Oh yeah, 10 weeks.
10 weeks post show. So we can kind of go over a little bit of the journey that you've been on, I've been on, what the journey that some of our clients go on, and I'm going to be attacking this from a element of kind of competition into off season, and perhaps you can speak more generally about kind of how people feel, what they sort of go through really on a psychological basis, some of the kind of pitfalls of dieting and what
the dark side.
Yeah, what you're kind of left with really, to sort of pick up the pieces, isn't it? So so I've got a few questions for you anyway.
Okay.
And I think what would be real good is actually if we can go over some of your stats, how you basically prepped, how long you prepped for, and then where you ended up before your show. So when was the last period of your diet that, we have some recollection of calories and all that kind of stuff. And then we can kind of see what you've done in the last 10 weeks to get you where you're at now. And then you can kind of give a bit of backstory about where you've come from, where you got to, and where you are at now, right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. So first thing though, I want to ask you is how did you feel about reverse dieting before...
Before doing it?
Yeah, before you actually got to the stage where you had to bring up calories, what was your initial feelings towards it?
Very mixed. On the one hand, I used to joke quite flippantly, I can't wait till off season so I can have more food. But deep down, if I'm really honest, I think I was nervous. Yeah. I was nervous about putting my calories back up, knowing that I had to regain some weight. To give a bit of background about me for anyone that doesn't know, as a kid, I was a bit chubby. I was the fat kid.
Oh.
I know. Hard to believe, right? Not you've seen me eat, that's true. And then as I became a teenager and I became a bit more aware of my body and how I looked, I decided to lose some weight. Yeah. Nobody can see what you're doing there, gesturing.
Yeah, they can. When this goes on YouTube, people can see.
Oh. People can see as well as hear. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realise we posted the video on YouTube. I thought we just posted the audio. I better stop putting funny faces.
It's going to be hard.
Try my best. I lost a lot of weight when I was younger, and not through the healthiest of means, and I didn't have the healthiest relationship with food. And I think a lot of that was stemmed by the fear of regaining that weight when I'd lost, because especially as kind of a teenager, and it's very much the same actually as when you're in glory season, when you're competing, that everyone tells you how great you look, you're getting so much more attention, your social media is buzzing, like everything, you do become a bit apprehensive of, oh no, what about when this is all over and I've got to regain some weight? So I was apprehensive about reverse dieting, but at the same time looking forward to having extra food.
So how long did you prep for? So from the period where you first started dieting to the competition, how much weight did you lose in total, and how long did that take you to lose that amount of weight?
So in theory, it wasn't officially. I did a prep for 24 weeks for the show, but I was dieting before that for a photo shoot. So it meant that in total, I dieted for just over a year, and in the course of that year, I lost 12 kilos from that starting point to my stage weight.
Yeah, in the initial diet towards your photo shoot, kind of was worked out great for your photo shoot, but also actually put you in a good position then to have a little diet break. But you were actually then at a good position to actually start prep.
Yeah, I think I had 6 to 8 weeks between finishing my shoot, bit of a break, and then starting prep.
Yeah, and I think there is kind of like a big, I don't know, like a common theme I see is that people think, oh, well, I'll do a 12-week prep and I'll be on stage. I'll be stage lean in 12 weeks. And you'd have never thought, like, you were in great shape, pre-losing 12 kilos.
Yeah.
Right? You had, good curves, good muscle mass, you weren't overweight, you were just...
I'll be honest, if you told me, maybe I was a bit deluded, but if you told me I had 12 kilos to lose, I probably wouldn't have believed you. I mean, I was working as a personal trainer at the time. I was working as a fitness instructor. I was actually studio manager, teaching lots of classes at the time. I was in good shape. And I actually, ladies that have dieted or prepped for a show or photo shoot, you'll probably may have experienced this, but like my glutes, for example, I thought I had great, big, full glutes. Turns out I had quite fat glutes because once I stepped on stage, put it this way, I'm working for butt gains this off season because it's amazing actually how much you hold.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that goes for guys as well. You just don't know how much weight you have to lose in order to get stage lean. Last year I competed and I thought I was leaner than I was leaner than I've ever been before last year when I stepped on stage. And this year I just surpassed that by miles. And at the time I was like, wow, look how vascular my quads are. And now I'm like, 4 weeks post-show and I've got greater vascularity on my quads. And obviously I've added back on, a good bit of body fat, and I've still got that same level of condition that I had last year. So, it is surprising how much weight you do have to lose in order to sort of see that desired goal or body composition or physique that a lot of people look up to now. I have this conversation with a lot of clients that come to me for the first time, for their first time show, and they're looking at maybe other of my more seasoned clients, or they're potentially looking at people that they know is going to be competing against them or who have won that class before, and they're like, oh, do you think I'll ever look like, will I look like such and such when I get on stage? And I'm like, well, you're looking at someone with 10 years training experience. They've been on stage numerous times. They've been through the process year after year. I don't know, it's like someone first coming into football and expecting to play like Cristiano Ronaldo. You have to give yourself, you might be great competitor, but if you're looking at Cristiano Ronaldo as you're like, will I get there? Probably not in 12 weeks, It's going to take some time, and it's going to take seasons to actually be able to surpass what you've ever been able to achieve before. So I think, you doing that photo shoot got you in a position where you were lean enough to actually start prep.
Yeah.
And if I'd have said to you, okay, you need to lose 8 kilos in order for you to actually start prep, you'd have been like, you're joking.
Yeah.
So
just to add to what you were saying before, actually, and notice this with a lot of females in particular, is I think there's kind of a misunderstanding sometimes that with some females, the flip side of that is they think that if they diet down, what they'll have underneath is the body of a bikini competitor. And if somebody's got quite a young training age, 1 or 2 years, then chances are when they diet down, they might not have that amount of muscle mass under there. So that's kind of the flip side of it as well, is actually sometimes people just need more
maturity.
Time, more time in the gym to build that muscle, more time in a bit more of a calorie surplus.
Yeah, I think it's, fine if you, have obviously just got into training and you love the whole bikini or men's physique style competition and that's what you're aiming for. But I think it's just being realistic and going, okay, do you know what? I'm going to compete against other first timers. I'm going to compete in a beginner's class and have realistic expectations of what I'm able to achieve. Get some great stage experience from your first show, get your feedback, and the feedback will probably be get a little bit leaner, get some more muscle mass, pose a little bit better, smile more when you're on stage, and then, year after year, you can improve on those things until your feedback is very, very specific so that you can actually win the class. And I think that covers kind of like your year, really. So talk us through then. Let's just focus on the prep that you went for to actually go for the competition. So you did the Welsh Classic, same as all the other Team Box coaches. We all competed on the same day, which was, I'm going to pat myself on the back for coaching you guys for the same day.
Pat yourself on the back just for coaching me. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's a feat. I'm not the easiest client, I'm just sure.
So I had my own prep to do. And you're 4 plus another client competing all on the same day.
Yeah, no pressure.
So, it wasn't much pressure on me, but I did it, and that was the first one I've ever took.
You pulled it off.
Yeah.
Very successfully.
Yeah, taking 6 athletes to stage on the same day was certainly a chore, and it was all good.
I think also coaching 4 coaches.
Yeah.
I think I can imagine we were probably your most difficult clients, would you agree?
Oh, easily, yeah. And it's because sometimes there's that element of when someone's not a coach or because you guys are my peers, it's a little bit of a different relationship to if I have a client. If I had a client and I said, okay, I want you to do this, they're like, yes, Steve, we will do that. Yeah. Which actually sometimes just being like, yes, I'm going to execute that plan, whatever you say goes, is great. Other times, not so great, depending on who's obviously given the advice. Hopefully the advice I give is pretty good. So ultimately, if there is a case where someone just goes along with what I say, then it's a good thing. But with you guys, it's a little bit more, I thought I would try this. And I'm thinking, I don't think you should be thinking right now.
If I had a pound for every time you said, just execute the plan, Laura, I think, I'd be sat on my big pile of money right now.
Yeah. And it's just a case of, look, actually there is time not to ask questions. And that's not something I would recommend. Obviously the whole point of this podcast is to help educate people. We can't take on everyone. So people will be working with different coaches out there. And it is important to ask some questions, obviously, as to why they are, coaches might be doing certain things with them, and to understand when, you're executing the plan because you know the answer. A lot of the times I would say to you, execute the plan, and actually, if you just thought about it, why I'm telling you to do that, rather than just asking the question for the sake of it. Whereas other times you genuinely had a question and I would try and do my best to give you that answer, or I'd go away and find that out for you so I could break it down a little bit more so it could help you understand, really. But so anyway, how long did you prep for?
24 weeks.
24 weeks.
With one diet break.
For a week. So basically a diet break for the listeners then is literally a time where we take calories right back up to maintenance. So you've got your 3 stages of essentially your diet. So you might have a maintenance period where calories should be roughly equal to what you're expending. So therefore, if you're at maintenance, your weight shouldn't change. And then also, this is obviously, there's always fluctuations, but generally on average it should stay the same, and body composition should stay the same as well. Then you've got a surplus, which is kind of any calories ingested over that amount, which is where you see weight gain or body fat gain or muscle gain. And then also you've got your calorie deficit, which you'll be in majority of the time. This is when you're obviously eating less than you're expending. And it's important just to sort of go over those 3 factors, because when we're looking and we talk about this prep, we're going to be sort of dipping in and out of those 3 periods, so it's quite clear. So a diet break, obviously when we started the 24-week prep into a calorie deficit, so what we do is we take your maintenance at the end of your off season.
Yep.
Yeah, or that transitional period that you had. So wherever calories were there, we basically took some off.
Yep.
And that started the fat loss and the diet essentially. And then how long did you stay in a calorie deficit before having a diet break? Can you remember?
I think it was about 16 weeks.
So about halfway through.
Yeah.
Or just over halfway.
Yeah.
And why did you have a diet break?
Because went on a trip to Edinburgh.
Yeah. So basically, because you went away, then
wanted to eat at some nice restaurants and relax a little bit more.
Yeah.
Feel good, and also actually was doing a lot of walking. Still trained whilst I was away. Yeah. So yeah, those extra calories were put to good use anyway during that diet break. So
yeah. So make sure. It's just a case of, well, if you do have a diet break, make sure it works for you, isn't it? And that's kind of what we aim to do, is go, okay, so you've got this coming up. Well, if we can know that in advance, and this is something I'll do with my clients, is sit them down, look out their period of time and go, let's give ourselves longer than we need to prep, because we never want to be in a situation that leads us to the point where we're stressing that we've got lots of weight to lose in a short period of time. So ideally you want to have as long a period as possible, and then that gives you those times to have diet breaks and stuff. So can you remember your calories where you started prep?
I've got them written down. Can I look at my notes?
Of course you can.
Is that allowed? I'm not doing a Snapchat, they're on my phone. Okay, so have I got them where I started? No. That's really helpful, isn't it? I've got my lowest point of prep calories, but I don't have where I started them from. But roughly, I think I remember them being around just over 2,100.
And what was your weight then?
And my body weight that I started prep at was 64 kilos.
64 kilos. So dieted for 16 weeks, and obviously over that 16 weeks, we would have essentially dropped calories every time you hit maintenance.
Yeah.
So basically every time fat loss would have stalled, we essentially would have probably dropped off some more calories or increased cardio.
Yeah.
Then you had your diet break, back on it, back into a calorie deficit. So where did calories end for you?
So for me, the lowest my calories got in prep was actually, I had lower days and I think we did 2 high days.
Yeah.
But averaging that out across the week, I was on about 1,500 calories a day. But to put that into perspective, I walked a lot. My daily average steps were a minimum of 15. It was about between 15 and 20,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
I was doing in prep. On top of that, I was doing 2,000 calories worth of cardio per week.
Which is about, for those who don't necessarily look at calories when you're doing your cardio, that probably equates to about 5 sessions of 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the intensity.
Yeah. Probably a bit longer. I got a bit slower.
As time goes on, yeah. Yeah. And then what was your stage weight?
So the lowest my weight went was 57.5 kilos, but
Okay.
I stepped on stage at 58.
Okay.
So after having a bit of a feed, I was by no means full when I was on stage. But yeah, maybe we should explain what I mean.
Yeah, so obviously one of those questions that I get quite a lot is the weight difference that someone incurs through their lowest weight. So obviously when you're dieting for 24 weeks, maybe longer, over that whole time you are essentially depleting glycogen and also, hopefully, the idea, fat mass or fat cells. So yeah, you are in a position where you are very, very depleted when it comes to peak week, for example. So the week before you step on stage, you're very depleted. And then the idea is, from that point, is to put in as much carbohydrates as required to make you look a particular way. So for a bikini competitor, you don't need to have, really full, hard, dry looking delts, because that's going to go against you. For me, I need to be as full, hard and dry as I possibly can. So I need literally everything possible to be pushing out, to be nice and pumped and full. So I'm literally loading in absolutely everything. Water, carbohydrates, sodium. And if you listen to last week's episode with Cliff Wilson, he spoke about how he gets his clients so full and hard. And I mean that from a glycogen point of view.
No one's listened then.
Whoop! Yeah.
Ooh.
So with you, obviously, we didn't get you quite to the point of, let's say, bursting, where you are literally trying to burst out your skin, being that full. So obviously, every single gram of carbohydrate that you reintroduce into the body, that you actually store, will take with it water, and that's just a lot of weight that someone can gain, over the course of a carb up. It could be a couple of kilos, 2-3 kilos. So if I was, for example, my lowest weight in peak week was about 70, I was on stage at 72, and then the day after I was still just as lean, but probably even fuller with even more food. I was 73. So that's kind of me at my fullest. So when you're in your off season, you are full. Like muscle glycogen is full because you're in a calorie surplus. You're eating more and more and more all the time. So what we got to try and do is look at these variables and go and measure them and compare them from being full to full, basically. So yeah, your most depleted weight was
57.5 kilos.
And then on stage
58.
So about a kilo up. But then after that, next couple of days with a bit more food in, maybe another kilo up?
Yeah, about 59 kilos.
Okay.
By the time I'd had sort of a meal after the show and then a full day of kind of eating the next day, but 59 kilos.
And at that point, you wouldn't have really gained any body fat because you didn't go ballistic. It's not like you had... there's a difference between just a normal or a fuller day of eating compared to... literally trying to chow down on absolutely everything you can see. And it's,
so yeah, when I say a full day of eating, I just mean 3 kind of quite normal meals.
Without cardio, without training. So just more time to basically, take on more nutrients. So, so that gives a good synopsis of where you were at full, right? So where are you now?
So now, this morning I was 62 kilos.
So 3
10
kilos
weeks
up.
down the line, 3 kilos up.
Yeah.
That's not the heaviest I've been post-show. Should I talk a little bit about what's kind of happened? So, the highest my weight went post-show was 53 was the highest I've seen on the scales, and it's now starting to come back down again. For me, the 4 weeks post-show were probably the most challenging 4 weeks I've had.
Yeah.
The first week after the show, when all the food's gone in, and like you say, you're looking full, you're looking hard. I like to refer to that week as glory week. That's the week when you're in the gym, you're on fire, you've got this extra food, training's going well, you're looking pumped, you're looking, you're still really lean. You look awesome that week.
Yeah.
You haven't quite spilled over yet, so you haven't started to gain any fat mass yet. And then the 3 weeks that followed that, if I'm honest, I looked awful. To my mind anyway, comparatively to where I'd come from. So let's put that into perspective, I guess. So for me, I started to regain fat initially, and I think you've got what I thought was fat, should I say, all on my stomach area and nowhere else. It literally went straight there. A lot of that was actually just water that I was holding. You've got a great video, haven't you, actually, of with you being a bit leaner than me, of actually where you can see you pulling your skin, and that water being kind of
distributed weirdly.
Yes. Whereas if you're holding a bit more fat mass, like I am, like most females are, there's not too many girls walking around with straight glutes. Last time I checked.
There's a few, but not many.
A few, yeah. But it just looked like fat gain. So I remember saying to you pretty much daily, I was like, is it time for me to diet yet? Maybe I could do this show. Maybe I could do that show. And I think there were 2 shows that you had to talk me out of entering and dieting again.
I think it was a case of going, no, Laura, you're not doing it.
Yeah. Rightly so. Very rightly so. But it's tough, going through a prep where, and for me especially, having dieted for a year, I kind of forgot what life not dieting was like. And literally for the last 24 weeks, every single day I'd been getting up, and especially that gets a lot more intense come the last stages of your prep, getting up, getting on the scales, looking for kind of drops in them, looking for physical changes, checking my abs, how are they looking today? And that had almost become habitual. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who in prep has gone into every toilet they go in, it becomes a bit of a routine thing that you check the abs. I know Mike Harrison has done it because I've seen it on his Snapchat. I can remember one time we were sat in Costa Coffee And I think it was when we were all at the 3 Muscle Journey conference, actually, maybe. And we were sat down having a coffee. And as Mike sat down next to me, I've opened up
This
his
is absolutely
Snapchat.
no plug for Costa, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry,
no plug.
We are not in any way affiliated with Costa, but that was just where we were sat. Sorry, should have just said unknown coffee shop.
Yeah, come on, think about it.
My bad.
Don't want them
this
to
is
get
why you hadn't had me
exposed
on yet. So yeah, anyway, we were sat in said coffee shop, and I was just going through my Snapchat story and came across Mike doing his ab check in the disabled toilet that he'd just been in 2 seconds previously. So I know Mike does it as well, and I'm pretty sure I've seen a mirror selfie from you in the toilets. But it does just become this odd behaviour in prep, you know, that you're checking for these things. Now, for me, having done it for so long, those habits didn't die. So I'm getting up, I'm getting on the scales, I'm looking at my abs, and every day they're getting
softer.
Yeah, softer and softer. So that was hard to deal with, very tough to, really, really hard to change my focus from being so consumed with what I look like every day.
Yeah, and so what's been one of the, I think I should probably go over, for listeners who have kind of, maybe reverse dieting, recovery dieting is a new concept. It's like I said, it kind of only started to get popular a couple of years ago, so don't feel like you're behind the trends or anything. Trends? Yeah. Basically, the recovery diet is essentially some sort of strategy and some sort of structure for the post-show period. And that translates and moves nicely into an off-season or a period of muscle gain, rather than what tends to happen if you follow a really, really restrictive and strict diet, which often, most contest prep diets that have sort of given out remove a lot of foods. So when you're told you can't eat a particular food, what then tends to happen post-show is that all you want to do is eat the foods that you weren't able to eat. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of why, we are huge advocates for flexible dieting, because it allows you to have little bits here and there as in when you want them, providing that they fit within your requirements for the day. And obviously when your calories are low, you're not fitting in much. But just having the choice of vegetables, for example, or just the choice of, you could eat out, for example. Exactly. Just having choice does make, having a hot chocolate after your meal just to take the edge off it. Or, if it's a little bit of frozen yogurt on a high day. So yeah, it's just those little things that can make a big, big difference. Anyway, I digress. So essentially, it's about, in that period of time, post-show, bringing calories back up. Now, at the rate that you do that has been kind of debated quite a lot. People have had different sort of inputs on what they think reverse or recovery dieting should be. So I'm going to give you my standpoint on it, as other coaches will have a different one. And I'm not saying that I'm right, but I probably am. So essentially what I see should happen is, once calories have come down throughout prep, there'll be a point in time where you last drop them. Okay, so let's say it happens 3 weeks out from stage. Okay, everything's stalled. So imagine yourself, you're getting lean, you're doing your cardio, and there's that week where nothing happens. You did everything you thought you needed to do, but because of how essentially it's called metabolic adaptation, your body just stops performing as it once did. We'll just leave it there.
It gets good at operating on
it
few
gets
calories.
Real efficient, basically. So that's whether that's picking your nose, walking down the street, even things like sexual activity goes out the window because you're too tired. Training performance goes down, and then obviously that doesn't even consider actually what your body goes through. And like I said, it just becomes a lot more efficient at doing things. And hopefully I'm going to get a really good guest on to actually talk about exactly that, and that'll be really interesting. But so there'll be a point in time where you hit a new maintenance period or a new maintenance point. So you're doing X amount of cardio, you're doing X amount of steps, and your calories are a certain amount and nothing changes. Really frustrating, but that's your new maintenance. Then what's going to happen is that essentially a new deficit's going to have to be put in place in order for you to continue to lose body fat. So let's say calories are, let's just say 10%. 10% took off. So if you were on 2,000 calories, that's another 200 calories off. So you're now down to 1,800, maybe 1,700 calories if you're a guy. A female, maybe that's 150, 200 calories off. You're back down to 1,300 or something. So anyway, you're back in a deficit. Maybe you're doing a little bit more cardio. You do your show, you carb up for it, and then what do you do with calories the day after? Because obviously, as we know, if you start just to eat as you want or as you think you want, you're just going to eat all the food without any sort of structure. You are going to gain body fat back really, really quickly.
You can't trust intuitive eating at that point.
No. So really, it is literally just a case of having a little bit of structure there in order to actually achieve the goal of recovery, to make you feel better, for training performance to go back up, hormones so that they can start to go back to where they were in the off season, and just to start that process off really. So what I tend to do with clients is take their calories right back up to where I predict at a minimum their maintenance is in their current state of affairs. So not their maintenance before they started prep, because obviously that's going to be way, way high and actually would be a massive calorie surplus for them, but actually where they're at in relative terms. So calories go straight back up to there, but at least at maintenance. And then depending on the client, depending on how far I can push them, and depending on their sort of outlook on things, some of my clients won't mind gaining body fat back straight away. So I'll put them in a calorie surplus. And I can be aggressive with that surplus because I know that I want to give them a certain amount that they know that they're going to be able to hit and not feel restricted. But it's not like an open ceiling where they can just, they're like this empty pit piling in everything. Whereas some other clients don't want to see the fat mass there. So actually we've got to take that a little bit slower. So maybe going at maintenance for a couple of weeks and then increasing things will depend on, that also their client's ability to actually adhere to the plan anyway. So there's a lot of different factors there that, I speak to my clients on a regular basis, and just to make sure that everything's kind of going okay and seeing how things progress really. So that's kind of recovery. 3 to 4 months you should be back to kind of normal, and the evidence would support that. There's a fantastic case study done over 12 months in a natural bodybuilder, and it kind of documented his prep, and essentially 3 months post, things started to normalise again. But it was only till about 6 months did actually strength start to return to what it was pre-prep anyway. So some things might take even longer, but that's what recovery dieting is all about. So where are your calories? So let's actually work our way through this then. Yeah. So calories went up to maintenance.
Yeah.
And what was your focus point? What were the goals that I set you to do in the first couple of weeks of reverse dieting?
To bring cardio down.
Yeah.
I can't remember. What did we set?
So it was more of a case of just hitting an overall calorie amount.
Yeah. So as opposed to focusing on individual. So again, to give a bit of background and about me, I am very, very much to the macros. Much to my detriment, sometimes I made prep a lot harder for myself than it needed to be. And I remember saying to Stephen in my off season, what I need to work on and what I need to practice on is actually being more flexible. And by that, I mean, if you give me a set of macros, I will hit them to the gram. Whereas one of the things that I encourage my clients to practice all the time, but I'm not so great at practicing it myself, is actually, you know what, for a bit, it's okay. Let's carry some over from one day to the next. As long as we equate calories by the end of the week, that's fine. I've always been very flexible in my food choices, and even eating out and things like that, but not so flexible in my ability to kind of swap carbs for fats. And it's not, it's just, I like things to match up. And maybe that comes from a background of working in
numbers,
IT and spreadsheets, but I do like my spreadsheet to look pretty at the end of the week. That's sad. Yeah, I'm one of them. He's rolling his eyes right now for anyone that's not watching this on YouTube. But yeah, so my
See what I've got to deal with?
so my focus was very much, actually, let's focus on hitting your protein and then overall calories, and don't worry so much about whether that comes from carbs or fats or, where that comes from. But we were quite aggressive in the jump up in my calories, weren't we, post-show? There was none of this kind of, I don't know how people do it. 20 grams of carbs this week, 20 grams of carbs next week.
That's kind of what I meant earlier, was some other coaches have their theories that basically calories have to be introduced really slowly. So let's say you bring in 10 more grams of carbohydrates the week after show, then that's only 40 calories. So if you're in a deficit by 300, you're still actually in a deficit, but now by 260.
Yeah.
So you're still dieting. That's not going to help you recover. You're just prolonging the recovery process. At least for the people that do go out and eat everything, body fat's going to come on and you're going to start to feel normal, and the recovery is going to happen because you're in a calorie surplus, but you're just going to not be that happy with body composition. And also, if you've excluded a lot of foods and you start to reintroduce those foods, you might, I don't know, have problems with consuming them, digesting them. Water retention is all over the place. In that period, it's just not plain sailing like it is in prep. My body weight has fluctuated so much, and not only that, when I'm obviously out of prep, you also end up kind of, everyone just wants to take you out for dinner, which is lovely. But then obviously, again, there's a lot richer foods there. They're much more tricky to track and measure, so estimations have to be made. And if you haven't consumed those foods in a while, you can end up with a little bit of water retention and that sort of stuff. So there's much bigger fluctuations going on. Peak week's very aggressive in terms of the amount of water that you're consuming, sodium. So when that's taken into consideration, recovery is difficult. It's not easy on the eyes. You see I lost my vascular abs quite quickly, although I still got striated glutes. It's so weird how, body composition doesn't quite normalise for a while anyway. But, so what was I going to get at then with you?
The approach of, I think the other thing is that...
I had a question for you.
Okay.
So, what was the one thing you asked me literally every single week?
Am I lean enough?
Yeah, that was in prep.
Oh, you mean now?
On the other side.
Can I diet again?
Yeah, there was another one. What you asked me all the time was, am I gaining weight too quickly?
Yeah.
You were like, how much weight should I be gaining? And again, there are, coaches that give recommendations on weight gain and that kind of stuff. I can see the logic there. I can see why you might want to say to a client, okay, we want to kind of gain this much, or we don't want to go over this much. But the problem is, when you're dealing with a person, no matter how intelligent that they are or whatever they know, if you give someone a certain number, like if someone would have said to me, Steve, I don't want you gaining more than half a kilo a week or a kilo a week. In my first 2 weeks of recovery dieting, I would have felt like a failure because I would have felt like I'd gained too much weight too quickly, because my weight jumped up pretty significantly actually. But the difference was, although my weight went up, I was still actually happy with my body composition. So I was happy in myself, and I wasn't uncomfortable, and I wasn't upset with how I was looking. But that's also because I didn't have any expectations on the weight side of things. So providing that I am happy, then there is literally no point in setting, I don't think, a weight amount. And I've said that to clients before as well, when they ask me, how much should I be gaining? And I'm like, well, actually, I'm not going to give you that, because it could essentially set you up for failure.
I think you also have to be careful with giving that recommendation because, I mean, you've done a few preps now, so you know what to expect with how your body's going to look post-show. I had no idea how mine was going to look, and which is why I kept asking you the question. And unlike you, I'll be honest, I wasn't happy with my body composition. I wasn't happy with the way I was looking, and I was almost looking for an excuse to diet again. So I think as a coach, if you are giving out weight, you do have to be a little bit mindful of the fact that actually could then make somebody, could only further add to that feeling and make somebody want to continue to diet at a time when actually we know it's really important to increase calories.
Because what happens
out of a deficit?
If I'd have said to you, okay, this week I only want you to gain half a kilo, and let's say you gained a kilo, then you'd have come to me the week after, Steve, I've gained a kilo, so now what do we do? You said we only had to gain half a kilo. I don't want to do another week where I'm gaining another kilo if I'm only meant to gain half a kilo. So what are you essentially going to force me to do? I am put in a position, I have to say, Laura, shut up and trust me. Yeah. Which you'll then just not trust me, or you'll start looking around for another coach or something, or and kind of by rightly so, really. Or I'm then in a position where I have to backtrack and actually then take your calories down. But if it's more of a case of, if there wasn't that target where someone felt like they failed, and I have a conversation with you which can be then a lot more positive, and I can go, tell me about your week, and you're like, my sleep's really, really improved. My training sessions are much more intense. I'm getting a really good lat pump now. I can really feel, I'm literally taking the words out of your mouth. I can feel my lats activating now. They're much fuller. And I'm like, brilliant. That's really, really good. This is what we want to keep up, because what's the long-term goal? The long-term goal is to get you at some point back on stage with more muscle mass, less body fat, better posing routine, and all that good stuff. But that takes a really good off-season, and for a good off-season to occur, a nice recovery diet is kind of what's needed to set you up well, right?
Definitely. And it's kind of going back to the weight thing again. You can't call the rate at which it's going to go on either. I'm sitting here now at above my stage weight, 4 kilos up. 3 of those kilos went on in the first 3 weeks. Yeah. So again, you don't know, you just can't, and it's not great to...
And without you experiencing this, and it was as easy as for me to go, I got the whiteboard out and I drew like this kind of line. I was like, right, this is what's going to happen. Weight's going to shoot up, and then it's going to basically plateau off. It's still going to increase over your off season, but at a much slower rate. And you were like, no, I need to diet again or something, but now you know, right? Because you've been there, you've done it, you felt it, you've seen how, body fat comes on in odd places, and it is really, really strange. So this kind of, I think, should be helpful for people, because basically, if you are thinking about prepping, or maybe you're considering taking a client to stage or something, then having an appreciation in why I'm always, especially as a coach, an advocate of why people should feel what they actually are putting their clients through and practice what you preach, because there's nothing like actually feeling a recovery diet than actually going through. You can't read about it. Even we're not doing it justice, just even talking about it. My video, which will go up on YouTube, will show like how crazy my skin goes like Play-Doh in post-show. It is really, really odd. And
it's at a time when you're so focused on your own body composition as well, because that's been ingrained into you for the course of your entire prep. So, but I think that's the thing as well. Experiencing it makes you realise that now, 10 weeks post-show, everything is settling down. The weight that I have regained is distributed much more evenly. I look a lot tighter again. Yeah. And I'm starting to feel a lot better, I think. My appetite's normalising. I'm not continually thinking about food, because I think that's the other thing to bear in mind with the reverse diet, is that if we use myself as an example, I think if we'd put my carbs up by 20 grams a week, I would have overeaten pretty much every single day.
Yeah.
Because we were quite aggressive in my jump up, and I was still struggling not to overeat on that every single day.
And that's the thing, if you're not realistic with where you put calories, and this is why I put some clients straight into a calorie surplus, because I know that if they're anything lower, my client's not going to hit them. So if they're not hitting them because they're overeating every day, then actually they're going to feel like they're failing. And if that's the case, then they're just not going to bother checking in with me, because they might feel a bit guilty that they haven't been able to stick to the plan. I've had this conversation with one of my clients who competed. I had to do the exact that, really struggled post-comp, and we had to find a strategy for him that was going to work for him. And it was literally a case of, okay, calories are going to be really high so that you can hit them. But the most important thing is that you are getting close to those amount of calories, and that training's going well. We can still focus on recovery, have good positive conversations. You're still doing your check-ins, your pictures and all that sort of stuff. And he's going to make great progress over the off-season. Yeah, fat gain's probably come on a little bit faster than maybe he would have liked. Maybe, I don't know. But ultimately, he's still on track. So yeah, I think, have you found then what's been more emotionally challenging, prep or recovery?
Recovery. And prep was physically more challenging. Recovery has definitely been a lot more of a mental battle, and actually was harder than I thought it would be. Like, I'll be honest, I've had some really dark days, some days where I've got up, I've got on that scale, even though I've said to myself, do you know what, I'm just not going to weigh myself tomorrow because I can't see any benefit from it. Yet I've still got on, I've still looked at myself and thought, gosh, you look awful today. And it's consumed my entire day, I'll be honest, and it's...
But that's normal, though, I think, for a lot of, athletes. I was certainly like that in my earlier days of competing. Now I've been able to, I'm very lucky that I'm so cold with myself.
You are the most... I've never known anyone with an ability to look at themselves as objectively as you do.
Yeah, and I think that is certainly something that I've certainly had great coaches. Jeff's been an amazing coach for me, and helped me so much actually over the last sort of couple of seasons. But yeah, it's something that I've ingrained over time, and the more I've learned, the more I've done this. I just become quite cold towards my physical appearance. And actually, one thing that might have helped me was potentially doing or being a fashion model, where every single time I turned up for a casting, I knew I was being judged on my physical appearance. And then, going through daily rejection because you don't hit as many jobs as you...
tick the boxes.
Yeah, you might go to 10 castings and only get one, but that's the game. But those 9 times where you've been rejected based on how you look, you either make it or break it, or it either makes or breaks you. So I think that certainly helped me, actually, was being objective with, okay, what do I actually need to improve on? And that has helped me a lot in prep. And, some people say it might be down to genetics, but for me, I think it is a learnt behaviour that people do get better at.
I think experience makes a huge difference. Now, I know that, next time I step on stage, so that was my first competition, and this has been my first recovery diet, I now know where I'm going, because again, all the way through prep, am I lean enough? I'm not sure. Is this how I'm meant to look at this point? And it's not until you get there you realise, you are lean enough. You see yourself with the tan, you've had a bit of food, you've got a bit of a pump up, you see yourself in your show bikini with your hair, and you're like, wow, this is, I'm here, I've made it. So I think I'll worry less about that. And the flip side is, now I know that I know to expect that initial sudden weight gain. I know to expect the soft, watery abs, because it is one of those things. The more you hear people, you can hear a lot of people explain it time and time again, but once you've gone through it, then you really know what it's like. And for me, this time round, I've put some strategies in place. I've found some little ways that I know that next time I do this is really gonna help me. And it's going to make my life much easier, because ultimately, in my opinion anyway, being a good athlete isn't just about the condition you bring to stage. It's about how you handle yourself throughout your prep, throughout your recovery diet,
and around the people. there's no point kind of going through prep and putting everyone else through hell, because it's your choice at the end of the day.
Yeah, sorry about how I was in prep sometimes.
Yeah, it's literally no point. There's no point, sabotaging relationships and everything else for a bodybuilding show, because actually, if you want to be a good bodybuilder and a good athlete, you need good people around you who support you, and making sure that you care for them in those periods of time, in showing them, no, do you know what? It's easy. Look how easy I make this look. That's how I try and prep.
Yeah.
I'm literally because then it'll never come back to me and go, I don't think you should do it. Remember everything you had to sacrifice. Because some people will just go, oh, you do make it look real easy, Steve. And I'm like, yeah, I want you to think that. It's not inside, but...
The thing is, there are no prizes for stepping on that stage a hero, and let's be honest, you've made that choice.
Yeah.
You are choosing to prep the way you've prepped, using your chosen method, whatever it is. All right, your coach might have chosen it for you, but you've chosen that coach, and you've chosen to embark on that journey. So actually, to then moan about it, you sound like a bit of a moron. I'm not saying it's not hard and you're not entitled to have tough days. I certainly moaned during my prep, but a lot. But I had to, and I think I did well in sucking it up the last 6 weeks, I would say, and just gave myself a bit of a reality check and was like, nobody's forcing you to do this. Yeah. You're choosing to do this.
Yeah, and that's it. And for every prep, you'll get better and you'll enjoy the journey next time, because I think you've got to give yourself a bit of a, I certainly gave you...
a talking to?
Well, I was patient with you because I knew you weren't sure if you were ever going to get there.
Yeah.
But now trust the protocol, trust the method, trust your coach, and you're also going to see where you got to, and you're going to surpass that this time.
Yeah.
So you're going to be lean enough. That's the biggest question you always get: is am I going to be lean enough? So yeah, I think you can sort of know that next time. Dan was a great example. Dan's last shoot that he prepped for, he moaned all the time. And this time, he was much better, and then actually got off stage and was like, I want to do another, I can push harder, I don't feel like I've been pushed yet. And he wanted to find that, in credit to him. What a fantastic athlete for wanting to do that. And yeah, a huge amount of respect for him for doing that, in knowing that actually he could do more and wanted to and keep pushing. So yeah.
One of the things that I did in prep, actually, which has kind of set me up for... I don't know whether to tell people about my video.
Yeah, do it.
I'm going to sound like a nutter now, but this has really worked for me. So in the depths of prep, when I was having a particularly challenging day, and I was feeling a bit sorry for myself, and I think it had got to 8 o'clock at night, and I'd run out of macros, and I've exhausted the sugar-free jelly avenue, and I was feeling pretty run down. I filmed my off-season self a video, so I just to the selfie camera on my phone and I basically explained how I was feeling in prep and just gave myself my off-season self a bit of a pep talk. I kind of preempted how I'd be feeling now and said, look, you might be looking a bit softer and your abs might not be showing, but I bet you're training a lot better than you are now, and I bet you're not hungry, and enjoy the Nutella you're probably eating, and just kind of, I think sometimes myself as an individual, I can have a tendency to view the grass as greener on the other side. So
in the green scheme of things, eh?
In the green, all right, you're not going to let me let that slip of the tongue go, are you? But I can think that the grass is greener on the other side. So I may film myself a video now for next time I prep, saying, all right, you're hungry, but look how great you look. So it's kind of, it's learning to see the positive in both sides and focus on that rather than getting bogged down with it.
I literally think I will myself lean when I'm prepping. I'm like, looking good, Steve, come on. And I'm like...
I've heard you say that out loud.
Yeah, and I focus on all the positive aspects, and I find that really, really helps me not... I don't think about what I don't have, I think about what I do have. And I think if you can be reflective and do focus on what you do have and be grateful rather than greedy, I think is a good way of... I think that's a good little analogy, actually. I might use that one again. But yeah, focus on what you have. Focus on the great relationships you have around you, everything that's going right for you. Focus on that, and don't let the negative or, what you don't have consume you, because you are doing this for yourself at the end of the day. and I think that's why your reasons for doing it have to be true. And it certainly, for me, highlights the athletes and the true bodybuilders. No matter what level that they're at, is more about the psychology and how someone reacts to things rather than just how they physically look or what they think they're doing. So, anyway, we're approaching an hour now, so I think we should probably call that a day. We'll get you back on at some point to talk about off-season plans, how you might program a female for off-season, for muscle gain maybe. That could be a good podcast. So, Laura, thank you very much for coming onto the show.
Thanks for finally letting me
come on, I know. So where can people follow you?
So you will be able to find, so for anyone that doesn't know, I have a recipe website, and you can find that at, can I say the website address?
Yeah,
I'm going to get told. Is this like Costa all over again?
No,
I'm good.
Like Costa.
Okay.
I'm a coffee snob.
Did you say that?
Yeah, I'm a coffee snob.
Okay.
Yeah.
www.girl-gains.com, and there are a load of, if you're a bit of a foodie like me, protein balls, donuts, pancakes, that kind of thing.
All protein-based goodies, right?
Yeah.
With, different protein powders and all that sort of good stuff. So, yeah.
And if you are a flexible dieter and you are tracking, then there's a full macro breakdown of everything on there as well.
Nice. And I'll put all the links to your other social media bits and pieces that people can follow you. Yeah. Guys, I just wanted to say as well a massive thank you to everyone that shared the podcast. People have been tagging me in posts saying how much they've liked certain episodes and that they're really getting a lot from it. I'm not gonna lie, we've had lots of coaching applications because of the podcast, and I think that just is a nice reflection as to what the content that we're putting out. And I just want to say thank you very much for listening, really. Completely humbled that people do take the time to listen, whether you're in your car on the way to work or going for a walk or getting your cardio done, and hopefully that we can provide you with good content. What I would like to do is, some people have emailed me questions, and I haven't got round to doing those, but I'm going to dedicate an entire episode to them, providing we have enough good questions. So please do email info@team-box.co.uk if you have a question. I will basically read out who it's from, what the question is. If there's any bits you want me to leave out, if they're too personal, please tell me, and I'll leave them out. But yeah, we could have a whole podcast dedicated to questions. Laura will be probably seeing you a lot more on the podcast along with the other coaches of Team Box. We can do some roundtables, answer some questions, and we've got some awesome guests lined up as well, which is going to be great. So hopefully I can get them on and tie them down for a date as well. So I hope you have a great week. Thanks for listening. Thank you for MuscleFood for sponsoring the show. Again, they just help spread the good information that we're putting out and keeping everything going. So see you next week for another MuscleBox Radio episode.
Bye.